With Sony's newly revitalized interest in the Ghostbusters property, most specifically in regards to Ghostbusters Afterlife, that was a project that I think put Ghostbusters in a much better space than it's been perceived over the last couple of years, namely due to 2016's iteration. And I would say that praise came across as, at least to me, lavish from general moviegoers and even more specific than that, fans. I would also imagine the subsequent sequels, which I believe have been greenlit at this point or they're in the early development stages, those are probably going to follow in the same fashion, if treated with as much reverence as I am aware that Ghostbusters Afterlife was. But with the respect that the Ghostbusters property now has in terms of, I think, a good faith among fans, you're seeing this expansion within upper forms of entertainment, storytelling, and merchandise, which is popular, of course, for many different franchises and whatever type of merchandise avenue they tend to consider. Gaming has been a pretty frequent landscape, especially of recent choice. I mean, you see a lot of properties and studios going down that pipeline because the gaming landscape is huge. And the aspects of what you can do in the storytelling realm and the creativity of the gaming landscape, it's a great way to capitalize on brand attention. And Ghostbusters has had a presence in the past, I think pretty well-received one, at least from some games I can think of, namely the one that I've heard regarded as a Ghostbusters freestyle movie. I haven't played it yet. I covered it a while ago. I need to, but it looked good. But there's, again, a building interest. And we've seen other types of games, let's say, for example, ones that are in development, that VR game for, I believe, the Meta platforms, or probably other VR technology as well, the Rise of the Ghost Lord game. That one looks enticing. But you also have a Spirits Unleashed game that's more mainstream. I believe it's console-based from what I remember. I've looked at it pretty frequently before, from a variety of landscapes, whether it be from a trailer or from gameplay footage. But it's a game that kind of impresses me, and I did like the originality of the release. Not only, again, the Ghostbusters brand is quite fun to engage with, but also the idea of, by comparison to other games, it might be fun to play as the Ghostbusters, but I like the variety and the approach of this one, and that you get to at least spend some time playing as the ghosts, theming, again, around the antagonist. That's not something you oftentimes see, but some games follow that path. And with Ghostbusters, I thought it was quite fun. That was the early introduction we got. In fact, the first gameplay reel before we saw the last one. I do still have some questions generally about the game, but I thought from what we've seen thus far in the gameplay style, the format has been very interesting. It seems pretty accessible and even from what other types of games in the sci-fi thriller action line would constitute. And I'm speaking again in respect to perhaps new people who may be Ghostbusters fans, but are not necessarily the most engaged in the gaming landscape. I'm trying to think in the matter of approachability, and I do find that Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed seems like a very easy game to at least try out, even just once. In terms of an approach, it doesn't seem like you have to spend that much time learning how the game functions. It's very easy to track along with. I liked the formatting of the infrastructure and where you're running around chasing ghosts, whether as a Ghostbuster or perhaps as a ghost you're causing chaos and wreaking havoc. I do still have some questions, though, about maybe in terms of the variety, because we've only seen, at least in reference to those other gameplay walkthroughs, one map in specific focus. And I wonder if there are going to be more, if there's a general campaign model. Again, I still have some questions that perhaps the trailers we're looking at today, one is substantially longer than the other. I'm hoping for a little more clarity. But from what I've seen thus far, it seems like kind of a fun way to engage with the line. And again, I like that concentration on the antagonist figures of the Ghostbusters property. Even in the gaming sphere, I like that tension in terms of playing as the villain. I think it's kind of a creative route to go, especially by comparison of other Ghostbusters properties that haven't done that. Let's take a look at two trailers to wrap this up, because again, we have entered the completion stage of its marketing, at least as far as I'm aware right now. I don't know if there's going to be any other content expansions going forward, but we have an Accolades and Launch trailer combination. I'm going to pull up here. I'm just going to feed from one trailer into the other, but we're going to get a good rounded perspective for the game. If you haven't seen it and this is your first look, I think as a Ghostbusters fan, you're going to like it. I think if you're somebody who's already just familiarized even with the Ghostbusters landscape in the gaming realm, I think this is going to be a game that would be an advantage to you. I think you might like it. Again, consult those gameplay reels, of course. I think there's going to be a much better perspective on how the game functions. But I think from so far what we've seen on a broad scale, it's appeared to be a competent release and probably an engaging way and a fun way to expand interest and interactivity with the Ghostbusters story. So first I'll start off, like I said, with the Accolades trailer and then move on to the launch. But we'll start with the shorter of the two. Again, some questions. I'm not exactly sure if these trailers are going to answer what I have lingering. But I think it'd be interesting, again, to get some good background on it. But if you haven't seen it, so I'm sure it'd be a good first introduction for you. All right. I like the change of font. Fits with the ghost attribution. Good visual style. Has the locations of the movies. Yeah, it seems like there's a bit more variety in the landscape of the hubs and where you can play. I don't mean like hubs, but like in terms of the gameplay settings, it's not just the hotel. There's other ones. And there is some variety in the structure. That one had some curves in it. The hotel didn't as much. That was more so just cornered pathways. Pretty straight. Different elevations and levels. So these are all, again, really good reviews. I'm not as familiar with Ilphonic as a developer. They're kind of new to me, so this game is very fresh on a number of regards. But from what I'm seeing here, it looks good. I mean, it's definitely in tapping with the other trailers we've seen. Very functional, has that Ghostbusters edge and look. I do like the variety, like I said, of landscapes. That's the question I was mainly considering. And it seems... I'm wondering again how the structure of the campaign will work, even if there is a campaign. Is this just like maybe an endless rotation of maps? I'm not thinking so. I imagine there's some general story, even if it's just loose. But I'm interested to see perhaps if the stories feed into one another, how the gameplay works in terms of interaction over a larger scope. But from what I'm seeing, or maybe it's just like some big, multiplayer game. That could be kind of fun too. I don't know if there's gonna be a multiplayer component for this. I don't remember if I've seen that expressed before. But I like the variety of maps. I like the variety of ghosts. It's very colorful and definitely matches the formatting of the Ghostbusters property and what we've seen on an illustrative regard. And there's a lot of attention, in regards to praiseworthy accounts from a variety of different types of markets, not just maybe from established names. There's quite a good helping of ratings there, but some other YouTube channels I recognize by name, other good regard. Some markets seem a bit smaller than I'm not familiar with in terms of name, but again, it seems like there's a good pool of responses here. So I'm sure for fans it will be that engaging. I mean, of course, this is a very press-friendly ad, so you're going to imagine they're going to hype the game up. But from what I'm seeing, again, it poses a good image. And what I've covered thus far, I would believe that image that Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed is trying to establish for itself and its own identity in the gaming space, I think it's produced a competent delivery. So this is the longer of the trailers we're about to look at. This is the launch trailer. So maybe if I have any more questions, I wonder if this will probe anymore. But so far, I think, again, I've got a good satisfaction on my understanding of the game. Let's see what else this game has to share, though. If there's any questions that I'm not thinking of yet. Maybe this will probe a couple things.
You're a pretty big fan of the Busters, aren't you? Well, we're back. We're up, running, and firing on all
original voice actors. Well,
the firehouse
from the movies, I like that. In a voice actor role here.
Every time I hear that alarm go off, I still get chills. Things are heating up around here, which is why we need help.
That's where you come in. Looks like you've got the tools and the talent.
Welcome to the team.
I hope you'll find your own unique flavor to bring to the jumpsuit. And modifications to the tools.
Customization options. Okay, this game's got a good landscape to its interaction. You have the car, too. We might have seen that before, I can't remember.
Over all the spooky stuff happening across the city. It feels magical, in an ectoplasmic horror show kind of way.
Okay, so you've got the... Is it a local option, or is it online?
And maybe someday you'll have my job.
Or is it both?
Maybe.
I ain't afraid to know. You have the chance to peek behind the veil of life itself and see firsthand what exists on the other side. The things you'll experience here will be like nothing.
I love the color palettes of the Ghost. Again, it's very diverse in terms of the imagery.
Watch out.
So nothing feels too similar to one another in regard to the Ghost constructions. It does feel like a
you didn't know you had.
Good team match of various characters and entities, some of which might be familiar faces, like Slimer. He's been in here.
If you can manage a little less collateral damage on your next call, my bank account would greatly appreciate it. Looks
good. performance-wise, and these are coming, I believe, on all the new consoles. So you've got the new Xbox consoles, the new PlayStation console. Is there a PC option? I don't know. I'll probably play this on my Xbox One. It looks good. I mean, I'm curious to see if, again, the reputation of Ghostbusters games carries through from, again, that original release that is in high reverence among a lot of fans. I'm curious to see if that continues forward. And if this will be a market of success for Sony. I would imagine it would be, because it's been the path of many studios that have gone down the gaming line, and there's been wide success in a variety of markets on that point, especially as of recent offerings. I'm curious to see if, again, that could be brought about with a resurgence in Ghostbusters type stories. And with Spirits Unleashed, can it level up? Can it maybe even just match it? I wonder. But it has, I think, a lot of strength to it. I think the voice cast returning does a lot to lift spirits for fans, especially ones who have been renewed in their reverence given recent cinematic offerings. I'm curious to see the evolution and the reach of this game. And if the team-up option, which I like, by the way. I like this idea of, you're training prodigies. Is it multiplayer or local? Because if it's a local console, I'm thinking again specifically to Xbox, and maybe PlayStation's the same, I wouldn't know. But you're limited to 4 players in terms of a local option. Is that what they mean, or do they mean in terms of multiplayer? Multiplayer can get even larger than that, but they say up to 4 players, which is why I'm assuming maybe it's going to lean more into that local option. I wouldn't mind either way. I actually prefer local team-ups, to be honest with you, if there was a general way to go. But multiplayer, like I could say, there could be an interest to that point as well. We'll see. I mean, if we're going to do the local option up to 4 players, it would fit with the branding of the Ghostbusters team. Like, there were 4 members in principal focus of the original movies. So far, from what I'm seeing, this is quite good. Again, love the color palette. It appears very much like a Ghostbusters movie. It has that automatic feel for me of being in that world. It seems very fun to engage with on a gaming level. And again, what we've seen thus far in the gameplay walkthroughs, it's given me a favorable outlook on the release. So hopefully there's going to be more life to the Ghostbusters brand, especially going forward, given that they're spending so much, or Sony's spending a lot of time in this space, creating new stories to further imagine and expand the film universe. We'll see how well this does, but so far I think it's off to a promising start. I'd love to hear your opinion down below, should you wish to disclose it, on maybe some of the other offerings of what you looked at with me thus far in terms of Ghostbusters stories in the game sphere, but also specific to Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed. Where's your level of interest? And how would you say this compares for you, perhaps, in reference to past Ghostbusters installments in the games line? I think, like I said, there's some strength to it. We'll see in terms of the overall delivery going forward in the future, how well it has of a release debut. I would believe based on the acclaim we saw in that previous Accolades trailer, there's a lot of substantial credit. But we'll see going forward. The fans certainly, I only give credit reviews so many stock, or critics. We'll see what the fans think. Because, I mean, they certainly made their opinion clear on Ghostbusters, and it seemed to have worked, especially with the cinematic line. We'll see how well this is received in the gaming sphere. But, like many franchises, here's another one going down the game line, and I think perhaps it's off to a promising start. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.